It is often called the only hot war in Eastern Europe. Russia and Ukrainian troops often exchange fire along Ukraine's southeast border. But with Russia now building up forces there, the threat of invasion feels closer than it has in years. A defense intelligence firm reports the most recent troop buildup has been taking place at night and with elite ground units. Some estimates say roughly 90,000 Russian troops are now on that Ukrainian border. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba was in Washington, D.C. this week for high-profile meetings with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. The top diplomat's hoping private agreements and the United States' public show of cooperation will deter Russian aggression. ABC News White House correspondent Mary Alice Park traveled to Ukraine with Secretary Blinken last May and had a chance to talk to Foreign Minister Kuleba while he was in Washington this week. So here's more from that interview.
Terry, that's right. The U.S. Secretary of State stood shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine's foreign minister here in Washington to show the world very publicly that the U.S. is backing the Ukrainian government as it stares down Russian troops on its own border. Now, I talked to the Ukrainian foreign minister right after his press conference in Washington and asked him how he felt about the cooperation he was getting from the United States after obviously a very rocky relationship with the Trump White House, and if he agreed that there had been a a revitalization of the relationship with the United States.
I'm leaving Washington, D.C. in a good mood because this is exactly what we were working for, to have this relationship revived, restored, relaunched, whatever word we use. We have to say the truth. There has been some turbulence in our bilateral relations under the previous administration. There were some hesitations of how this relationship will proceed further in the early days of this administration. But I think that it will not be an exaggeration to say that the quality and the number of contacts between our presidents, between me and Foreign Secretary, and at all other levels of our teams has been unprecedented.
You've warned that Russia and its ally, Belarus, are playing a complicated game using the energy crisis, propaganda, disinformation, the military buildup on your border, and even now the migration crisis. Big picture, do you feel like the United States, and the Biden administration specifically, is taking these threats seriously enough?
Yes, the United States take these steps taken by Russia and its close proxy ally, Belarus, very seriously. But what is even more important, from my conversations here in Washington, I see that the United States are ready not only to talk, but also to act in order to deter Russia and to strengthen Ukraine's capacity to defend itself. This is even more important.
What do you mean by that? We heard Secretary of State Blinken talk about this essentially arms sales, but he didn't talk about sending U.S. troops. In what way? What makes you think the United States would be willing to act? You mean in the event of a Russian invasion?
The United States have provided Ukraine with a lot of with some defensive weapons. We have a very good level of intelligence sharing. The United States imposed sanctions against Russia. So there is kind of a toolkit of how you can support a sovereign country fighting for its sovereignty and territorial integrity. This does not necessarily imply having American soldiers on the ground. And I can tell you proudly that Ukrainian soldiers and the people of Ukraine has been fighting this war for 7 years now. And we know how to fight, and we know how to win. This is our land, our soil, and we will be defending it. But it's much easier to defend it when you have friends and allies in the back helping you with your defense capabilities, with political support, with economic support, and all kinds of helping hand that can be extended. We are extremely worried. But listen, when you live next to Russia for 7 years in an armed conflict, you kind of learn to be worried. You get used to it.
Secretary of State didn't say anything in his remarks about NATO membership. Do you think the United States should be doing more to bring Ukraine into the fold with NATO? Would that be an ultimate deterrent to Russia?
If Ukraine had been a member of NATO in 2014, Russia would not have attacked us, knowing that the entire alliance would have responded. So Membership in NATO is the deterrence measure, number one, but this is a matter of strategy. We have to be realistic about it. Tactically, what we have to do is to strengthen our defense capabilities here and now.
President Biden has talked about managing the relationship with Moscow, stabilizing the relationship. Do you think that the relationship can be stabilized?
Well, I understand why President Biden is seeking this stabilization. However, our experience of recent 7 years demonstrates that Moscow understands and respects the language of strength. You do not have to threaten them, you do not have to act to use force against them, but they respect you if you are strong with them, if you are tough with them. I do not see that any risks that this dialogue between the United States and Russia is done at the expense of Ukraine. And we will be working with our U.S. partners to make sure that we never face such a situation.
And Terry, the White House, too, is getting a lot of questions about how engaged the president and White House officials are when it comes to these Russian troops on the border. White House press secretary said the White House officials are having conversations with European partners and obviously with Ukrainian officials, but the White House is clearly monitoring the situation very closely. Terry?
An ominous situation. Our thanks to Mary Alice Parks for that report. Thanks very much. And we'll have continuing updates right here on ABC News Live throughout the remainder of the evening, and a complete wrap-up tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.